All right, so open source has changed the tools and techniques that we use every day as developers. So you guys have seen that impact on your daily life already, and hopefully we're going to show you some new tools and techniques and technologies that I think you guys are going to enjoy. So we're going to demonstrate some innovations that you've seen out there in open source, and we're going to show those. We're going to allow you to take advantage of the best tool for the job, the best technique for the job, and you're going to be more productive and more adaptive, or more adaptable. So the greater choice is an enabler for greater innovation. So we're going to enable greater choice, and that's going to be very critical. And we're going to start off with two mini demonstrations, two lightning talks, if you will, where we're actually going to go into Red Hat JBoss Fuse and look at the IDE and look at the technology there to how to integrate an application easily using lightweight embeddable technology. And then we're going to actually show you JBoss Developer Studio and the new capabilities we have for building a hybrid mobile application. And then we're going to drill down into an application built using those technologies, using a polyglot backend. And we're going to need all of you guys in this room today, assuming the Wi-Fi works with us, and already I think we're starting to brown it out with all of you guys here in the room. Go ahead and just stop updating the Facebook updates real quick, right? So just give us a little more bandwidth on the Wi-Fi. And we're going to have you guys interact with our application with us here on stage. So we're going to have some fun, all right? So let me first introduce James Tracken. He comes to us from the Fuse source, and he's one of the most prolific open source middleware contributors of all time. And so we're very lucky to have him today to show us JBoss Fuse.
Thanks, Bert. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you. JBoss Fuse is the integration product for Red Hat, right? Fuse is made up of a number of different open source Apache projects. Most of them were created by the Fuse team and were the major contributors. The project I'd like to focus on today is a project called Apache Camel. You maybe saw some of the camel signs and wondered what those were when you came in here. Now, this is what most integration solutions tend to look like today, right? They start off kind of simple. The early days, everything's nice and easy and cool. You wire something together with duct tape and string and a script and a thing, and then you move team and somebody comes along and adds another thing. And then before you know it, you look back and you've got this big ball of mud. It's hard to understand, it's hard to change, right? Now, integration needs to be agile. It needs to be able to keep pace with the changes in your environment and your ecosystem, okay? Now, I created Apache Camel 6 years ago next month, right? And the aim of Apache Camel is to make integration easy to create, easy to understand, and easy to change, okay? Now, Apache Camel is really just a simple, modular, open source Java library. You can embed it in any Java virtual machine, use it in any application server, use any dependency injection framework, use it anywhere you like, right? You can embed your integration solutions directly where you need them, okay? Put them in an ESB, put them in your application, put it wherever you like, okay? So it's a simple Java library. It's based on the enterprise integration patterns, which is pretty much the Bible in integration. You've maybe heard people say phrases like content-based routing or routing, depending on where you live, or message filter and that kind of thing. Okay, so this is kind of the Bible of integration. And Apache Camel implements all of these different patterns. So if you've heard these patterns, it will all seem very familiar. It will help you understand it. Okay? Now, Camel has hundreds and hundreds of components. It's got a massive community of people creating, enhancing, and enriching Camel all the time. So you can talk to pretty much any technology, protocol, API, or data format. You can pretty much connect anything to anything, okay? Now, the way you create Camel routes and Camel integration flows from a developer's perspective, you use something called a domain-specific language, or a fluent interface, to describe in a simple declarative way your integration flows. You can probably read this slide and kind of figure out what it really means without really knowing any of the APIs or really understanding how you use, in this case, JMS and XPath and that MQ series thing that some people still use, okay? You can use Java code to describe your integration flows. You can also use XML if you're a pointy brackets kind of person, okay? Now, some people don't like writing integration flows in code. They like pictures, right? So we have some open source tooling for Eclipse and for the web apps. So you can create, visualize, and work with Camel routes completely visually through pictures. You can use your cell phone, you can use your iPad, you can also use Eclipse, right? Now, I'm going to demonstrate right now Eclipse. I've only got a few minutes, so I'm going to go really, really quick. If you want to know any more about this, I've got a talk tomorrow at 3:40, where I've got a whole hour to ramble on about how all this stuff works. So I'm going to whiz through it really, really quickly. I can't really demo the drag and droppy stuff, but I can show you like a few stuff. So I'm going to create a project. So this is Eclipse, right? This is Eclipse with the Fuse tooling. It's all open source. I'm going to create a new project. I'm just going to click Finish. I can't show you all the different options right now. I don't have time. I've created a project on my hard drive. There's a whole bunch of stuff in there. I'm going to go straight inside the Camel context thing and double-click. And we get a visual palette. So this is a drag-and-droppy thing that I'll show you tomorrow. So you can drag and drop things around and visually design your camel routes. You've got a big palette over here with all the various patterns and endpoints and yada, yada, yada. You'll notice over here we've got two integration flows. So the first one connects it pulls a directory for files, sends them to an ActiveMQ message queue. Okay? The second route uses a content-based router. So it consumes from a message queue, does a content-based router, then uses XPath to route XML payloads to different directory systems. Okay? So pretty simple stuff. Don't worry about the editor right now and the drag and droppy thing. Come tomorrow if you want to see more detail. So what we're going to do is just run it. So right-click, run. So that was pretty quick. I created the project, I've run it. If I pop to my console, we get some stuff running. Okay? Now a text log is kind of boring, so we have another perspective which is way cooler. So we've got this Fuse integration perspective. Now what this does is it lets you connect over JMX to remote processes and look inside them and visualize the integration flows that are running right now. So have a quick peek in here. We see, oh, there's a camel, that's cool. If we double click on it, we see, oh, there's a message broker. So this is an ActiveMQ message broker, right? This is remote invocation over JMX. We're looking in the JVM. We're seeing what it's running. We've detected ActiveMQ, so we've got a bunch of queues. We can create queues here, drag and drop messages and that kind of stuff. I'll show you that tomorrow. Plus there's an ActiveMQ, there's a Camel context. So here's a Camel context, and there's all the integration flows that are running right now, okay? If I click on the first route, this is the route that goes from the directory. Oh, a bit of drag and droppy, yeah, why not? We go from a directory, 3 messages go from the directory to the message queue. Then if we look at the other route, we go from the message queue, 3 messages have gone to the content-based router, 1 goes down here with XPath, and the other 2 go over here. So we can just connect to the running system, see with a picture what's going on, we can understand it, and then we can visually change it. So it's easy to run, easy to create, easy to understand, and easy to manage. Now, one thing people tend to hit, Camel's kind of too easy to start, right? It's really easy to get going. You play around, you make some pictures, you run some stuff, it's all kind of cool, and then somebody changes a namespace in XML or an XPath, and everything just kind of breaks. So when things break, because they probably will, especially if using XML and namespaces, they will break, here's what you do. You right-click on the route, and you start tracing. Okay, once you start tracing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a bunch of XML files on my hard drive, and I'm going to drag and drop those. Okay, so there's a bit of drag and droppy in this demo after all. Okay, so I'm going to find the camel endpoint there. So there's the queue I'm going to drag to. So I'm going to click the message. It's just an XML file. I'm clicking. I'm dragging. I've dropped. Way I dropped. I think I hit it as well. Okay, cool. So I've dragged and dropped. Now, if I browse this message queue, there's no messages there. Why? Because I'm consuming from them. Well, I'm not. Camel's consuming the messages and processing them in the content-based router. If I now click on the message route, and I'll get 3 messages. Let me just fix my column headers. Bear with me 1 second. Oh, that's cooler. So I now have 3 messages here. So you might think, well, I dragged 1 message. Why is there 3 there? Well, watch the little yellow box. So what it does is it keeps a copy of every message that goes through the integration flow. So there's the first message. Let's watch where it goes. Then it goes to the content-based router. Then it goes over here. If I drag and drop another one, I'm going to click, and I'm going to drag, and I'm going to drop it on the queue. So I've dragged and dropped a message from a file system onto a message queue. Camel's then consumed it, and the second message has taken a different way around. I've now got 6, because I've got 2 messages that take 3 hops. And this one goes that way, the second one goes this way. And as we're scrolling through, you see the payload changes here, and all the message headers change there. So we can trace messages through integration flows. We can see where that dodgy XPath messed everything up, and we can understand exactly what went wrong. Okay, so it's easy to create, easy to understand, easy to change, and easy to run. Okay, that's all I've got time for the demo today. Remember, tomorrow, 3:40, if you want to see way more cool stuff and the web stuff, which is even cooler than this. Thank you. Over to you, Bert. Thank you. Ooh, I forgot the U's and the R's.
So Apache Camel and ActiveMQ, part of the JBoss Fuse technology, is certainly a great example of lightweight embeddable technology. And it can run anywhere there's a JVM, up in the cloud, even without an application server.
Exactly.
So that's an important point. It's certainly an example of next generation of middleware. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that presentation. Now we're going to show you what it means to build a mobile application. So if you want to build applications targeting the phone as a specific target device, now we're going to show you JBoss Developer Studio 7, specifically in beta right now. And we have Gorkum Erjan over here, who's been part of our Developer Studio team, specifically working on Apache Cordova and Eclipse to bring you guys a new set of development tools. So Gorkum, take it away.
Thanks, Burr. What I'm going to show today is I'm going to show how you can actually build an application that you can deploy to a real device. So I'm going to start with a hybrid mobile application project, which is essentially a project for developing Cordova, or as some of you may know as PhoneGap applications. So once I create this project, the great thing about this project type is it actually knows how to build a native application out of your HTML and JavaScript. So if I say run on iOS emulator, what you see on the console is it's actually generating an Xcode project, compiling it, and starting the iOS emulator. And this is basically our basic welcome HTML page. Well, the welcome HTML page, although it looks pretty good, it's not very useful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this into some sort of a form application using jQuery Mobile. And for jQuery Mobile, we now have a new palette that you can use. So I'm going to start with a page. And one thing that you will notice on this palette is as I go through these fields and make changes to it, you can see a little preview of it. So for example, if I add a back button here, the back button appears right there, and you can see it. And if I remove it, it's removed. So let me start by putting my page and start and go on and let's remove this, and put some input boxes. Let's put an email field. The previews are pretty good for looking at the changes on an individual component, but at some point you actually want to see how all things are coming together. So for that, we have Browser Sim. The good thing about Browser Sim is it actually has skins that you can try out for different form factors. It also supports rotating your device. So I'm going to choose a Galaxy S here. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to enable live reload on Browser Sim. So let's continue on and put more input fields. Let's put a date. And when I push save, as I save it, the Browser Sim just updates with the new fields. Let's continue on and put another one. A phone number. So and when I hit save, it's updated on the Browser Sim. So the Browser Sim is good for testing some of the things, but as you see, when I clicked on the mail, I didn't see the keypad. So I want to see the keypad and see how it interacts with my how my application interacts with the native input method. So I'm going to just run this again on the iOS emulator. As you can see, this is going really fast. It just generates the Xcode project, runs it on the emulator. So as I click through these fields, you can see that I'm actually getting the native input keypad. For example, for a date field, I actually have the date keypad, and for a phone number, I actually have the phone keypad. So this is one way where the Cordova is actually helping you with working with the native phone features. And while you want to work with the phone features, while you are developing it, it's very hard to work with them. So what we can provide is a simulator so that you don't need to go back to an emulator or a real device every time. So I have a project here that is a Pong game implemented using index HTML and JavaScript. And what it does is it actually controls the paddle with the accelerometer events. So if I tilt this little phone shape here, it actually generates events for me, and I can actually move the paddle to the direction that I want. Well, I'm not good at the game, though. So with the Cordova sim, you can emulate geolocation, accelerometer, and many, many features, but not everything. So for example, push notification is something that you actually need a real device to run. So for that, you can, well, here's my little push example project, which you can actually say, I'm going to run it on an Android device. And what it will do is, it will basically do the same thing that it does for iOS emulator. It will just generate a project and run it. So I have it right now running on my iOS, Android device here. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to send a push notification to this device using the AeroGear push notification server, which is running on OpenShift, and see the device receive the notification. As you can see, let's put it on the background and get the little notification icon on the corner.
So that's very cool.
Appear at some point
in the notification area.
Yeah.
So what do you see here with push notifications? In this case, push notifications using Google Cloud Messaging. So it's a unified push notification system, and you can see it right here live. And we'll show you more of this in a second. Right, so that's very cool overall. And thank you very much for that demonstration, Gorkum.
Thank you.
So what you guys got a chance to see, of course, is development of a hybrid mobile application where we took advantage of native features, whether it be the accelerometer or maybe GPS or contacts on the phone or something of that nature. And I don't know if you've ever tried to build an HTML5 Apache Cordova-based application in Eclipse before, but it would take you many, many hours in some cases to get your project started and configured. In his case, he was able to point and click, and you had run through the wizard, and you immediately have a project that's runnable instantaneously. So that is a nice innovation we see coming out of the open source world overall. So now let's go ahead and talk about what our next bit of the application is going to be. So we've actually built an application leveraging all the technologies and techniques you've heard about so far. And we really want to focus on an application that was polyglot in nature, leveraging the mobile paradigm, certainly. And we are going to basically show you a system that leverages the computer in your pocket and all the resources of an open hybrid cloud. So we're going to show you what that looks like right now. So to introduce that, we have the concept of Ticket Monster. Hopefully you guys have heard of Ticket Monster before. It's our example application and our tutorial that's out there at jboss.org today. It's been out there for about a year now. And it is our tutorial for how to do Java EE6 application development with an HTML5 front end using Apache Cordova for hybrid mobile application type technology on the front end. And you will basically use Ticket Monster to purchase event tickets, right? So you can get your concert tickets, your theater tickets. You know you got to get to that AC/DC concert. You know, take Craig with you and make sure he's there too, all right? And you guys will get a chance to then go to our auction-based application. So Ticket Monster has been a very successful business, and now they have acquired an auction-based application and a business. So you can get your fan memorabilia. So you can get your tattoos and your swag and your locks of Justin Bieber's hair, or we've got some actually fun stuff for you also. So your costuming and things like that, just so you can get ready for that Lady Gaga concert. All right, so that's what our auction application is all about. So I want to turn this over now to Bob McWhirter, who's our lead polyglot and our lead architect for this demo application. So Bob, can you talk to us about the auction application?
Sure, I'd be glad to. So this application, as Burr said, is an auction. And so we expect thousands of Justin Bieber fans, just like each and every one of you guys, out there with your phone, wanting to get some item. And you want to know exactly when that auction goes up for bidding, and you want to know if you get outbid. And so we look at this, and we're thinking this is a lot of push notifications going to web browsers. And the first thing I think of is Vertex. And Mark spoke about Vertex earlier. It's this async framework that can handle a lot of connections with very few threads. And so we're doing Vertex using JavaScript on the server side. Because, you know, our mobile guys, they like to use JavaScript on the handset. We want to use some JavaScript as what they're talking about here on the server side. Vertex is cool because we could actually take the Vertex's asynchronous message bus and push it all the way to the handset. So the handset actually starts playing in the same space as Vertex. For the back end, we wanted to cobble together a nice app really quickly, so we wrote it in Ruby and Rails, and we deployed it on TorqueBox. And we had to do some computational stuff, so we wrote that in Clojure and deployed it in Mutant, which is our Clojure app server. And to connect these two things, to connect our TorqueBox with our Vertex, we used Apache Camel. And it's talking Stomp, the messaging protocol, off one side, and then directly participating in the Vertex bus on the other side. So that gives us a way to flow messages all the way from TorqueBox to the end client running on a handset.
So we have JavaScript on the client application. We saw that with HTML5 and the Apache Cordova stuff. We have JavaScript running in the middle tier with Vertex. We have Ruby, and when we have Clojure, all of that running up in the cloud. So we have both OpenShift in this case and EC2.
Yes.
All right, fantastic. So I think that's a perfect example of how JBoss has been innovating in the open source community, and certainly this is an example of what you could not do with the previous generation of middleware, and certainly not with the typical monolithic app servers of yesteryear. So Jay, can you talk to us a little bit more about the client side of the application? Show us a demo of what the auction application looks like.
Sure. So what we have here is that Ticket Monster auction demo application that we built. It's built with some of the latest technologies in the industry, from HTML5, JavaScript, Apache Cordova, and AeroGear client libraries. That handles a lot of different things, from connectivity, security, that type of thing. And as you can see here, we've also integrated social login. And I'm going to go ahead and log into this using my Google Plus account. And like a lot of social logins, what it's going to do is going to redirect me to Google's page. So I let that third party authenticate me for this new application. I'm going to come in, I'm logged in, and this is the main page for the application. This is what is going to let you know how much money you have, what auctions are available, what your point status is, that type of thing. It's also going to show things like your icon and avatar. One thing that's important to note here is with the social login, it's not all just client-side. It's actually working all the way back through the system, creating a user that's associated with our back end, but never exposing user credentials outside of the third party. Bob, why don't you go ahead and start an auction? I'm going to walk through that process. So what you just saw up here is a notification that a new auction was just started. In this case, it was Bono's glasses. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try to bid on Bono's glasses. And it's a pretty typical eBay kind of style page, right? You can submit a bid. You'll see I got another notification that the bid has been accepted. That's not just client side. That's a message that's actually gone all the way back to the server. The different layers have accepted that it's a valid bid and has sent a message back. And this is using not only the back-end items that Bob talked about earlier, but also AeroGear client notifier APIs.
So this application looks a lot like it's running on the native device here. Is this an application we can pull out of the App Store, maybe?
Right. So the application here, as I mentioned, is built with Apache Cordova, which lets us use web technology in native applications so we get access to native device functionality. So it can be installed in a public app store, an enterprise app store, wherever it's needed. Like a lot of enterprise use cases, though, we also have a version written in mobile web. Uses the same basic code base, and you can then access it through the mobile web, which you guys will see later, or a native application like this.
It looks like Bono's glasses has already been sold.
And it wasn't to me.
So Bob, can you talk to us more about the back end of the application? What happens through that transaction of the user logging in and the bid flowing through the system, the bid being accepted, rejected, outbid, that kind of thing?
Sure. So as Jay said, you log in through a social network, and then we get a payload of information involving your profile picture and your email address. And that flows through the Vertex and through Fuse, and it reaches TorqueBox. And if it's the first time we've seen you, we provision an account for you immediately, and then pass the message back through this whole stack. And it gets pushed up to your browser, where you then see that you have a current balance of $500 and 0 points. And then as auctions start, we start sending notifications up once again through the same stack to your browser. As you begin to bid, those messages flow back down to TorqueBox, where we validate your bid. If you're trying to bid less than the current price, we have to reject it. If you try to bid more than you have in your pocket, we have to reject it. But if you have a good bid, we let you know that too. We tell you, okay, your bid's been accepted, your bid's been rejected, whatever. And then we also take that stream of bids and we hand it to our Clojure application server, which is doing some processing to come up with these meaningless internet points, which will determine the winners here today. And our scoring is that for every bid you make, good or bad, just for the pleasure of pushing the button, we give you 1 point. If you happen to have an accepted bid, then we give you 5 points. At any point in time you're currently the leader of an auction, you are the winner of the auction, or before it's completed, you get 25 extra points. If you are the absolute final winner of an auction, you get 100 points. And so these all add up, and we display them. Well, Clojure figures out what's going on, and it sends back real-time notifications to TorqueBox, which then streams it up to our back-end console here, which is with WebSockets, so we can keep up with the leaderboard here. And Jay, it kind of looks like you lost that auction to me, perhaps.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Wouldn't be the first time. So one of the things that's interesting about the back-end business logic, all of this business logic and Clojure and Ruby and all that on the back end running up in the cloud. And in this case, we also have like a $25 maximum bid. So you can't bid more than $25 over the current price. You guys need to remember that. That's a tip for you there. So just remember that. We're going to turn this over to you guys here in a second. But I want to talk more about the real-time push notifications going out from our back-end services out across the internet, out to space, and then out to your phone. In that case, well, let's talk about push notifications. Jay, can you drill down on the push notifications?
Sure. And this is one area that really gets me excited, because notifications is definitely something that's very mobile specific, and there's almost no enterprise mobile use case out there that couldn't benefit from push notifications, whether that's live in-app or native push messaging. So Bob, why don't you go ahead and kick off another auction for me?
There you go. Good luck, Jay.
All right. And so what you actually just saw, you saw non-native push messaging coming through my iPad because the app is actively open. What you saw on both my iPod here and my Android device is actually native push messaging run through the AeroGear unified push server that we're currently developing. And that is using Google Cloud Messaging or Apple Push Network. So it's managing what devices are part of that application, providing client APIs for then sending out messages as needed. Now, what's important to note here is that the auction, it doesn't send a native push message for every single notification. You don't want it to be too chatty. So it has the capability to pick and choose what notifications are native and what notifications aren't. Now, I am going to actually try to win this red Corvette if I can get into it. 7 seconds left.
We have very short auctions.
2, and I'm going to submit, and my bid was accepted.
All right.
Oh, and I won. All right.
Good job, Jay.
So that's fantastic. So we have the push notification server, and we have all this infrastructure running in a polyglot way, right? The application servers we talked about. So Bob, talk to us more about the hosting, the backside of this application one more time.
Right, so this is all hosted in the cloud, and in actuality it's hosted in 3 clouds. The first cloud is the cloud of handsets sitting out here in the audience. Because a little bit of this app, it's a smart app, it's not just a dumb web page that's being drawn. We got active JavaScript running in your mobile device, receiving messaging, doing cool stuff. So the cloud of mobile devices. The portion that runs Vertex and JBoss Fuse is running inside of Red Hat's OpenShift. And we did that because it's a nice platform as a service, a good place to kind of put these small little apps and have them scale up as we need it and scale down when we don't. But our back-end stuff, we wanted more control of that, let's say, so we put it in EC2. And to connect the bridge, Fuse can throw messages from OpenShift over to EC2 to our machine running there, and we could throw messages back to it, therefore kind of bridging and giving us this open hybrid cloud.
I really like how what has happened here specifically is that we've extended the middleware out of the cloud and into your mobile device. So we're going to turn you guys loose on that here in a second. But I think it's really important to understand that Red Hat's commitment to open hybrid cloud means that we've been focused on platform as a service as one example, specifically with OpenShift, in this case running out OpenShift Online. But we also offer OpenShift in the form of a platform as a service available on-premise or in your private cloud known as OpenShift Enterprise. And there's an open source project behind that known as OpenShift Origin. So all that technology is available to you today, and if you saw this morning's announcements and whatnot, you can go get up there and sign up for an account right now, and of course run your application like you see us running it here now. So one of the advantages of OpenShift is specifically the flexibility you get of running any kind of tool or framework or programming language. You name your favorite programming language or environment. You can run PHP or Python up there. You can, in our case, run Ruby up there or Clojure up there or JavaScript up there in our case. But if you guys also know, the platform as a service allows you to auto-scale your application. So here's what I want you guys to do. If we could bring up the leaderboard and also the visualizer there, the specific OpenShift monitor that we've created. So at this point, I want you guys to go to jbosskeynote.com. All right, so you guys can just simply jump on the Wi-Fi or pull out your 3G or 4G device and go to jbosskeynote.com. and get logged into our application. And then we'll see you guys start logging into the application. And then we're going to have some fun with you and run a few auctions and see which of you guys can outbid us. Keep in mind, what we're going to be doing is specifically putting a piece of software, in this case a bit of JavaScript, because it's a web-based application. You're not actually installing an application through Apache Cordova, but it's just a piece of JavaScript which extends our bus, our messaging bus, up on the cloud, out to your mobile device, and using that for real-time interaction with you. So we see you guys starting to log in now. I see Zach and Tommy, Philip. You guys are all jamming into the system. Jenny. Right? I see you guys logging into the system now. You can see the activity happening right now in real time on the monitor. So if you look out there, the activity monitor is showing people logging in real time. And that, of course, means you guys are logging in through your Google Plus or Facebook account, going out to the cloud, and now driving back down to this desktop through a web socket, real-time updates to the desktop. So we're going to be seeing those things. You see 31 users coming in now. And we see a bit of load happening on the system. But you can see, I see Matt Hicks here. And I see Jim Crosley here logging to the system, Jason, Peter. So a number of you guys logging in. And we'll refresh the page. OK. And so Steve, Daniel, you guys are all logging into the system. We see you guys coming in. We have 47, 48 users, 51 users. So, and how fast is the Wi-Fi in here? Is it great or what? It's actually doing pretty well, all things considered, with everybody trying to hit the system at the same time. Now we're picking up pace here at 65 users logging into the system. And we'll get our monitor there restarted, but you can see now with 70 users into the system, so we're still logging in users. So let's go ahead and launch an auction. Let's go ahead and get an auction going. So those of you who are already in the system, you should get a notification to say the Rolling Stone sticker is now available. You can see we have some really cool auction items for you guys overall. Let me grab some of these here. We have a Def Leppard t-shirt. I actually brought it with me, so you know the lucky winner might actually walk away with a cool Def Leppard t-shirt. Yeah, pour some sugar on me. It's my favorite 80s band, all right?
Let's start that auction.
Yeah, get that one started.
I'm holding out for the wig.
We do have an imitation Flavor Flav clock as well as one of our auction items for your winning here today. All right?
There's the wig.
And you might not have known that Slash wore a wig, but we got a copy of that as well. Okay. And then we have size blue jacket also. So you guys are getting logged into the application. We have 125 users already into the system now. And you can see that it's they're still coming in very quickly. We can see the bids flowing in. You can see the number of bids. In that case, 47, 48, 49 bids at $76 for Def Leppard t-shirt there. You can kind of see that we have only 2 bids for size blue jacket. Not a very popular option, apparently. Come on. That's got to be a killer item. So far, it looks like Def Leppard's a pretty hot item over there in the system. Looks like Peter won the Rolling Stones sticker with a high bid of $352. I actually have a Rolling Stones t-shirt for you as well, Peter, if you come up and see me later. So at this point, Jay is still the #1 member on the leaderboard. We got to knock him down. So you guys got to find a way to pump a few more bids into the system, win a couple more auction items, and then knock him off his high horse there. All right, looks like we have almost, so we still have the Lady Gaga tattoo kit now in flight. Flavor Flav clock in flight. Size blue jacket's now getting a few more bids, 146 bids, 140, 150. Again, the real-time updates for the transactions you guys are making from your phone right now, going out through a messaging system, out to the cloud, out to the OpenShift system, and out to EC2, an open hybrid cloud setup. And then, of course, real-time pushes back out to this desktop here on stage over the same Wi-Fi you guys are using as well right now. All right, now we see John and Jenny and Philip. They're actually making progress and getting on the scoreboard there. And you can see the orders, the actual bids coming into the system. All right, so fantastic. And there's still people signing up. We're still 178 people now into the system overall. So just in a few short moments there, you guys were able to log in using social login, using a HTML5-based mobile application, in this case, at jbosskeynote.com. See the real-time HTML5 dashboard also update in real time. So you guys had access to that. And now we can see the, well, at this point, we should start wrapping it up. Does anyone want to win the fur coat? Right? Macklemore thrift shop fur coat. You guys know the reference. Okay, maybe not. My teenage son told me about the Macklemore fur coat, so I should mention that. Okay, so let's shut it down. So we can actually bring it down now. And if you guys notice, watch what happens on your phone.
End up on the board up here.
On your phone, you just got shut down. We sent a message out to basically say, now you're logged out, this game is over, you can't place any more bids, you're out of the system at this point. You can still, Jay and Bob, we're still in our #1 and #2 position. But actually, John, Jenny, and Philip, if you want to come up afterwards and see me afterwards, we have something to give you. So overall, we did get a little bit of load on our monitor here. We can see that actually showing some of the load. And now, since you guys are actually coming out of the system, the load is dropping. And of course, you get a chance to actually see basically the OpenShift Platform as a Service auto unscale. Those resources are no longer necessary, so it scales up to handle additional load, scales down to basically say those resources are no longer available and no longer necessary. So I thank you all very much for your time. Hopefully you guys had a good time with this demo.